It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning show that covers fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation here in the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Loophole Optics, America's optical authority, by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors,
by Wallowa County.
Nature is on display in Northeast Oregon, and by The Real News, your fishing resource. Also by Shiloh Inns and Suites, providing you with affordable excellence. And by Mardon Resort, the place for fishing, hunting, and more in Eastern Washington. And now, it's time to head outside with your host, John Cruz.
We are having a ball at the huge Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show that's taking place through Sunday at the Expo Center in Portland. I love talking to the folks who visit our booth about fishing, hunting, destinations, and ideas for things I should put on the show. I've got to tell you, I think I learn as much as the folks that visit me when it comes to these topics. These shows also give you an opportunity to see a lot of friends in the outdoor industry. I get to see fellow outdoors radio broadcasters, writers, television show hosts, as well as some really good hunters and anglers who make their living as guides and outfitters and share that knowledge through seminars at the show. Speaking of seminars, you've got to catch the outdoor cooking seminars here. Two of my favorite outdoor chefs who are pro staff members for our sponsor Camp Chef are Oregonian Tiffany Haugen and Idaho Dutch oven whiz C-Dub Welch. They are both not only great people, but absolutely fantastic cooks who are going to be giving you tips on how to prepare delicious food from the field and in the field. Best of all, they usually have samples for you at the end of each seminar, and I wonder why I'm having a hard time losing weight. We've got another great broadcast for you this week covering both fishing and hunting. We're going to start things off by talking to Tony Floor. He's with the Northwest Marine Trade Association. He's going to be previewing the Northwest Salmon Derby Series, 14 tournaments taking place in Western Washington's Puget Sound, and just for competing. Whether you win or not any of these individual tournaments, you get a chance to take home a 21-foot fully loaded Hughes craft. Wow. Tony is also going to give you a fishing report about the winter Chinook angling near the San Juans, and I'll give you a preview. It is hot. Speaking of salmon, Lance Mers is back to wrap up our series on kokanee fishing destinations in the Northwest. This week, he lets you know where to go in Washington State, and once again, has got a great idea about a lure to use on this week's Extended Max Minute. We'll turn our attention from salmon fishing to hunting when we talk to Shane Mizell with Loophole Optics out of Beaverton, Oregon. Shane and the Loophole crew just got back from SHOT Show in Las Vegas, that ginormous trade show where companies from all over the world showcase their brand new products. Shane's going to be giving you a personal preview, and if you are a hunter out there, you're not going to believe what they've got for you this year. After our talk with Shane, it's time to head back to the water. Jim Moore, the owner of Bottom Gun Guide Service out of Boardman, Oregon, is going to tell you about catch and keep sturgeon fishing on the Mid-Columbia, as well as trophy walleye fishing. And keeping with a sturgeon theme, guide Nate Luther is back to preview the really fun catch and release sturgeon fishery that's available every spring and summer in Hell's Canyon. Throw in previews of several sportsman shows coming at you in February, and we've got another full hour of outdoors fun coming your way. But first, David Sparks is back with another edition of Sportsman Spotlight. This week, frequent guest Josh Mills talks about a monster steelhead caught out of Idaho's Clearwater River. And oh, by the way, right now is prime time for you to hit the Clearwater and get one too.
Giant steelhead caught by Josh Mills' dad, David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight.
When you go out to fish, there's always a bit of ego sometimes involved, who got the biggest fish and stuff like that. Well, I want to tell you a little story about my dad and I. We were out on a river in Idaho that has a gigantic steelhead, and pretty much if anybody knows what that is, it's the Clearwater River. Can't say specifically where we were, but we were somewhere in the drainage. Early in the day, I was fishing a beautiful piece of water, got slammed by about a 12, 13-pound native steelhead that just erupted. I have a new reel that's a Hardy, and it's about a 70-year-old reel, and that thing just sung and sung and sung and sung, and finally I brought it in. It was my biggest fish of the year. It may have pushed 14 pounds. It's just one of those like, oh my God, what a great fish, what a great experience. My dad and I passed a flask around of good fortune and then had a few sips of whiskey and then went back to fishing. Well, later in the day, we're finishing the last run, and we'll probably got the last 20 minutes of daylight. And I looked, my dad is just below me. I watch him hook up into a fish, and the fish came up and wallowed on the top of the water. I knew right away that thing was a monster. He knows how to fight a fish, and this thing was taking the better part of 15 or 20 minutes, which is just absurdly long most of the time. My buddies and I were just kind of like saying words you can't say on the radio. Well, we finally got it in, and it was, to use the hyperbole, fish of a lifetime, because biggest steelhead I've ever had the opportunity to even see and or touch in person, every bit of 20 pounds.
And I can guarantee you that's not just a fishing story, it's the truth.
We're owned by our customers. Our customers elect a farmer director board. Those farmer directors understand the cycles of agriculture, have a deep affection towards agriculture in the Northwest, and that has served us exceptionally well over the years.
Phil DePofi, President and CEO of Northwest Farm Credit Services.
The other aspect of being a cooperative is that our success is our customer owner's success. Unlike other commercial enterprises that would pay their dividends to a third-party investor, in most cases that third-party investor would not be in the local marketplaces that entity would work within. But with Northwest Farm Credit, our dividends, or our patronage as we refer to it, goes out to our customer owners. And so that is another defining characteristic and very unique to Northwest in the marketplace that we serve.
Northwest Farm Credit Services. Customer owned, customer driven.
This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
He said we're right on him. Without missing a beat, you'll drop your line down to 42 feet. If you don't screw up, it won't be long. Someone in this boat's gonna sing Fish On. Fish on, fish on. Do it by the book, don't take too long. Set the hook, reel it in strong. Fish on, fish on.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We've got a great guest for you. It's Tony Floor. He's with the Northwest Marine Trade Association. He's going to be talking two topics with us. Number one, he's going to be telling you all about the Northwest Salmon Derby Series. And number two, he's going to tell you about some of the great winter Chinook fishing going on right now in the North Sound. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to hear your voice, John. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, Tony, always a pleasure to have you on. Understand you went fishing yesterday up around the San Juan Islands and had a pretty good day.
Well, we had a couple of bluebird days over here on the west side. You know, it's either you're getting rained on, or when it's nice, we're usually inundated with fog. So I don't know. I was kind of in the eye of the hurricane of all that up the south end of the San Juans, out on some of these banks. And, boy, it looks good looking ahead in February and March in the eastern Strait of Juan de Fuca. But, you know, when's the last time you went out in the wintertime, dead of winter, and hooked 20 Chinook, 8 to 10 pound, just chrome as a mint nickel? But it was just a glorious day to be on the water, flat, and good day to be alive, fishing in the Strait of Juan de Fuca.
Well, folks, if that doesn't make you want to go fishing right now in the North Sound, I don't know what does. And the fishing's been good, and that's a good thing because there's the Salmon Derby Series, the Northwest Salmon Derby Series, that basically is made up of, 14 different derbies? Is that the way it works?
That's right, John. We're up and have been running every year with 14 tournaments. The Northwest Salmon Derby Series is a lot like the PGA in golf. We partner with 14 individual salmon derbies. We promote the derbies. We bring our, I'll call it our grand prize boat to every one of these tournaments where it goes on display. It's a beautiful boat made in Colville. It's a 21 Hughes with a full cabin, hardtop radar, downriggers. It's fully tricked out, about 70 grand retail. And at the last tournament of the series in September, we give that boat away. You don't have to catch a fish. Just by showing up at one of these tournaments, getting your name in the hat, it's a raffle, and we give the boat away. So, again, this is boat number 12 from the last 12 years, and you got a chance. If you go to one tournament, John, you got about a 1 in 6,500 angler chance. So, of course, the more tournaments you go to, the more your name is in the hat. You can go to NorthwestSalmonDerbySeries.com and see photos of the boat, the tournament schedule. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I'm a lot like Santa Claus in that way. Give away boats and to some lucky angler.
So the boat is courtesy of the Northwest Marine Trade Association, I presume, and some of the other presenting sponsors of this series. But, folks, there's several of these derbies that are coming up. In fact, one is going on right now as you're hearing this broadcast, the Roche Harbor Salmon Classic in the San Juan Islands. The Olympic Peninsula Salmon Derby at Discovery Bay is taking place February 20th through the 22nd. And the Everett Blackmouth Derby is going to happen on March 14th. And that's just 3 of them that are happening in the next 30 days or so. There's a lot more that are coming up, especially during the summer months. So obviously people can win whatever is being offered at the local level in terms of these tournaments, and you got a chance to win the boat. Is there anything else that people can win when they compete in the Derby series?
Every derby, John, individually has a variety of prizes. For example, this weekend at Roche Harbor, the first place fish is $10,000. There are a few derbies that's $15,000. This is payout in $20 bills.
Wow.
Second place, third place, all the way to fifth place. They have other kinds of prizes that they give away: downriggers, electronics, fishing rods, etc., and just raffles for being there and participating. This grand prize boat, John, again, is a real heart stopper. Everything on that boat that you see is donated by the manufacturer. So Lowrance has donated all the electronics, Scotty the downriggers, the boat itself, the Hughes Craft Pilot House, Mercury Motors 159.9. Everything on it is donated. So it's just an awesome promotion. It's been very, very successful, and people have been coming to these events and winning prizes and even winning boats. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Oh, I would agree. Folks, again, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Tony Floor with the Northwest Marine Trade Association about the Northwest Salmon Derby Series. If you go to the website, NorthwestSalmonDerbySeries.com, you'll find out about all the different tournaments that are part of this series and your chances to win some of the great stuff we've been talking about. One other thing I want to touch on here is the fact that this Derby Series is wild fish friendly, isn't it?
It's absolutely. When we built this thing, and I was assigned back in 2004 to build these salmon tournaments, we wanted to make sure it was fish-friendly in terms of conservation, protection of wild stocks. So most of these tournaments, almost all of them, is hatchery fish only.
Good.
Hatchery produced, adipose fin clipped, Chinook. There's a couple of derbies that are coho, but it is centered and founded around targeting hatchery fish. The state and the feds and the tribes produce, upwards of 40, 50 million, Chinook in the Columbia River out of hatcheries, out of Puget Sound. And these hatchery fish have one mission in life, and that's to go get caught.
Yep.
You don't need hardly any back. So it's designed for they're designed for recreational fishing, and so the tournaments are based on encouraging people to go fishing, take advantage of all these hatchery stocks out there. They're wonderful fish. The fish are caught yesterday. You practically need sunglasses to look at them. 8, 10, some of them 12-pound fish are hatchery-produced fish. The mark rate, I know in the Strait of Juan de Fuca, is upwards of around 80%, 8 out of 10 are these hatchery fish. So it's a wonderful opportunity. We've got good fishing here in the Northwest. I fish Canada, Alaska, Southeast, and we got a pretty good thing going here. So in the upcoming months, John, we consider February and March, the Eastern Strait from CQ, Port Angeles are all open for these hatchery fish. And, of course, the summer fisheries just around the corner. So a lot of good fishing ahead.
Tony, before we go, I need to ask you here, what's the drill in terms of getting fish in the boat during February and March? If somebody wanted to take their boat out there into the Strait of Juan de Fuca in the next month, how do they set up and how do they have success?
Well, I think the shortcut of that is there are a number of guides that are available. You can go online and find them out of Port Angeles, out of Anacortes, out of Everett, out of Seattle, and that's the shortcut. If you're hauling your own boat over here, it's primarily chasing these blackmouth is a downrigger show. Probably 95+% of the gear techniques over here now are downrigger driven. There's some type of a UV flasher followed by either a coyote spoon, which are very, very effective when the primary bait is herring. A lot of guys fish with what's called a coho killer. They're a sand lance or a candlefish imitation, trailed about 48 inches behind the flasher and 15, 20 feet behind the downrigger, and you got to get down in the dirt. These blackmouth, they tend to live on the bottom. They're looking up for bait. They're looking straight ahead, and the sand lance and herring are typically around the bottom. So you need to be close to their habitat and contours of the land of Puget Sound and Strait of Juan de Fuca. That's where they live. Tides don't make a heck of a lot of difference. Ebb tides seem to be a little bit better in relationship to the geography. There's a lot of places to fish, John, and that's why the shortcut circuit is hop on with a guide, learn your spots where you want to fish, bring your own boat over here and join in the fun.
Tony, that's some great advice. And folks, if you use some of that and you win one of these tournaments, make sure you give Tony a little bit of the cut. Just kidding there. We have got to go. But folks, again, the website, NorthwestSalmonDerbySeries.com, NorthwestSalmonDerbySeries.com. That's the website to find out about all these tournaments that are coming up in the coming weeks and the coming months. Go ahead and get in on them, and you just might win a brand new boat. Tony, thanks for telling us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's always great to talk to you, John. Good luck. See you on the water.
That's the sound you hear when a fish hits the new Sonic bait fish from Max Lure Company. This metal lure can be cast, trolled, or jigged and will catch just about anything that swims in the sea, the river, or the lake. The Sonic bait fish has a unique vibration and flutter that can be rigged in 7 different ways. With all sorts of eye-catching colors and weights available, you'll be reaching for the Sonic bait fish as your go-to lure. It's the Sonic bait fish. And that's another fish on, only from Max Lure Company.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. We've been talking about Northwest kokanee fishing destinations. We've covered Idaho. We've covered Oregon. This week, we cover the Evergreen State. With us here to tell us more, Lance Murs. Lance, what's your favorite kokanee lake in the state of Washington?
Well, it's all of them, John.
Pick one that you like in particular.
Well, one of the lakes that I like to fish kokanee at is Lake Stevens. Fantastic lake for kokanee, and one of the things that I like to use is the double whammy Ringmaster. Lake Stevens is a wedding ring lake.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean?
Well, anybody who's going to catch kokanee is using a wedding ring from Max Lure. Whether it be different tie-ups because we have a numerous amount of components, but it's primarily our original wedding ring spinner. Difference between this Ringmaster is it's a wedding ring. It's got a Colorado blade on it, but it's got either a size 4 or a 6 hook with no gap in between it. Again, kokanee have soft mouths, so that double hook set I'm a fan of.
So again, it's the Ringmaster. Is that the name of the lure?
Double whammy Ringmaster, yes.
The double whammy Ringmaster. It's kind of funny that, we always talk about go-to lures for different lakes, but it sounds like, in the case of Lake Stevens, this is not just the go-to, it's the only lure that's going to assure success on Lake Stevens for kokanee.
I can't wait to fish it again. It's going to be fantastic, and hopefully nobody's listening because I'm going to use it and catch all the kokanee.
Nice. Well, there are other lakes as well in the state of Washington where you can catch kokanee. Palmer Lake in north central Washington is a good choice. Lake Chelan starts kicking out the kokanee really early in the year. Another place that kicks out kokanee seemingly year-round is Lake Roosevelt. So lots of options for you if you want to go after kokanee. Again, the Ringmaster, the double whammy Ringmaster from Max Lure Company is a really good choice for some of these lakes, especially Lake Stevens in western Washington. That's all the time we have for this week's, and that wraps up another Max Minute brought to you every week by Max Lure Company.
Looking for the ultimate cooking machine for your backyard or patio? Look no further than Camp Chef's new pellet grill and smoker. With user-friendly features like an auto ignition, digital readouts, and internal meat temperature sensors, it's easy to smoke the tastiest salmon, ribs, brisket, and turkey you'll ever eat, and an innovative system makes cleanup a snap. Everyone will want the food you're cooking on your Camp Chef pellet grill and smoker, the quality smoker that's second to none. Find out more at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
It's Sportsman Show season, and two great ones are coming your way in Washington this year, courtesy of Schuler Productions. The Tri-City Sportsman Show kicks off the season at the track in Pasco from January 16th through the 18th, and the always popular Central Washington Sportsman Show returns to the Yakima Sun Dome February 20th through the 22nd. Both shows are going to have lots of guides, outfitters, and other exhibitors to include sporting goods dealers that are going to offer some great deals. There's also fun for the kids who can catch fish and more. Throw-in seminars on fishing, hunting, and camp cooking, along with archery and air rifle ranges at the track for the kids, and a horn and antler competition at the Sun Dome, and you won't want to miss either show. It's the Tri-City Show, January 16th through the 18th, and the Central Washington Show, February 20th through the 22nd. We'll see you there. You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We didn't make it down to SHOT Show in Las Vegas this year, and that's a shame because that's the place where everybody is rolling out some of their new stuff. And one of the bigger vendors that is down there, and one of the biggest booths that's down there, is owned by Leupold Optics from Beaverton, Oregon. So we actually got a hold of Shane Mizell, and he's going to go ahead and give us the SHOT Show post preview of what's coming out this year. Shane, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Good to be back.
Well, I understand Vegas was a very well-attended show again, some 64,000 attendees, and I'm guessing you were a really, really busy guy.
We were very busy, yes. Second largest attendance overall for the SHOT Show, and our booth was slammed. We had people nonstop.
Folks, the Leupold booth is always slammed by both media and also by people who just want to see what's out there and buy it. And the amazing thing about this show is that 64,000 attendees, it's not open to the public. These are just retailers and buyers and media members that are coming here for basically a huge trade show that most people can't get into. So it's great that you're here with us today, Shane, to go ahead and share some of this brand new stuff with our listeners. And I want to start right off the bat with some really cool innovations you're doing with your rifle scopes. And this one in particular is really exciting to me, the Windplex Reticle. Tell our listeners more about it.
Yeah, the Windplex Reticle is very exciting for us, and it's new. We've always offered a solution to hunters or shooters that wanted to shoot out to distance from an elevation standpoint.
Sure.
But we didn't offer a solution from a windage standpoint. So what the Windplex Reticle does is put a target or a solution, a shooting solution right there in your reticle that allows you to hold off for the type of wind that you're going to be shooting out at distance. So it really, we're trying to take the guesswork out of the longer range shooting and make it easier for the consumer.
I'll tell you what, you keep this up, everyone's going to feel like they're Chris Kyle on American Sniper. That is something else, and just as incredible is this brand new CDS ZL feature you have on your VX6 scope. Exactly what is that?
So the ZL, the zero lock feature on our CDS scope, is just a way to help people feel a little bit more confident about their dials. CDS stands for the Custom Dial System, which allows you to have a dial cut specifically for your ballistic load on your rifle. So if you want to shoot out to 300 yards, you dial out to the 300-yard mark. Or if you want to shoot to 450, you dial to the 450 mark. It allows for simple, fast, long-range shooting. But people felt a little uncomfortable about actually turning that elevation dial. They just weren't sure if they were going to be on the right spot or if it could get bumped. So what we did is we added a zero lock feature, which means that dial won't move unless you want it to. You push the button, you dial up to where you want to go, you turn that dial back to your zero, and it automatically clicks into place. So it acts as both a zero stop and a locking feature for your dial.
This sounds incredible, and I got to ask, is anybody else doing this in terms of this zero lock feature or the Windplex Reticle?
No, both are patented by Leupold, so both are technologies that are proprietary to us.
Wow. Folks, again, if you want to take your shooting to the next level, especially longer range shooting, you've got to check these out. And these items, the Windplex Reticle and the custom dial system Zero Lock, are they available now?
Both of those are available now. The Zero Lock is available in our VX6 line. The Windplex Reticle is available in our VX6 as well as our VX3 line. And then the Windplex will be available in VX2 and VXR a little bit later in the year, but not currently on shelves.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Shane Mizell with Loophole Optics about some really cool stuff they are trotting out this year that's going to help you be a better shooter. Something else that's really important when it comes to hunting is having a rangefinder, whether you're a rifle shooter or whether you're an archery shooter, and you've got a brand new digital laser rangefinder that's got a lot more range than anything you've had before. Tell our listeners about the Loophole RX 1200i TBR.
That's right. The new RX 1200i TBR, it's an advancement on our RX 1000i TBR, which was the number one rangefinder 3 years in a row. What we've done now is increased the ranging capabilities. So now you can range out to about 1,200 yards on a reflective target. That's roughly about 800 yards on a soft target. So you're going to be able to range a deer accurately at 800 yards, which is really, really impressive. It's got our TBR DNA engine built into it, which makes it the fastest, lightest, and most accurate rangefinder commercially available.
Now, you're going to have to educate me here a little bit because this rangefinder is both for rifle hunters and archery hunters. For archery hunters, it'll go out to 125 yards. Tell me more about that.
So the TBR, the true ballistic range, works out to 125 yards. And what that is that's your angle compensated range. But the rangefinder itself will still work out to 1,200 yards. That will just be a straight line of sight distance. That's in bow mode. Now, if you switch over to rifle mode, the TBR works out to 800 yards. Again, your angle compensated distance out to 800 yards in rifle mode. But the line of sight distance will still work out to 1,200 yards regardless of what mode you're in, bow or rifle.
So essentially you're just pressing a switch or pressing a button to get from one mode to the other, depending on what type of hunting you're doing.
Exactly, yeah. You just go into the main menu, which is right off of your mode button on the side of the rangefinder. You select whether you want to be in bow mode or rifle mode, and then that will dictate what range TBR is going to calculate out to.
Okay. This, again, really innovative stuff, and I love the fact. I mean, that's a really long-range rangefinder, and they're really compact, too. This, almost fits in the palm of your hand, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it really does fit in the palm of your hand. It's just about 4 inches long. It's extremely lightweight. It's actually a little bit under 4 inches long. I think it's 3.8 or 3.75 inches long. Very lightweight, very compact, and extremely fast.
All right. Got to ask, is this one available yet?
This one is available. This is on shelves. It's actually been on shelves since December. We tried to hit the Christmas rush with this one, so people can run out and get it right now.
Okay, so we're kind of working our ways backward. We started off with making the shot in terms of what's available for the scopes, and then we talked about ranging the animal with the rangefinder here, and now we're talking about finding the animal with some brand new binoculars, the Loophole BX3 Mojave Pro Guide 10x42 binocular, which has got some killer camouflage on it too.
It does. We partnered with our friends over at Cryptek and put this new binocular in their two patterns, Highlander and Typhon, which is a black.
Well, I'll tell you what, that Highlander, you're going to be the most styling hunter out there with these binoculars, but a little bit more besides not just the binoculars in terms of how they look, but how they perform.
Yeah, these are great binoculars. They're modeled off of our BX3 Mojave platform, which has been our most successful binocular. It's extremely lightweight, very comfortable viewing, and great optics. And we just upgraded it slightly by really putting in the high-definition image quality, or the HD glass. HD is done with extra-low dispersion lenses and special coatings on both the prisms and the entire lens erector system to make sure you get the color fidelity and the crisp image that you would expect from, a high-quality Loophole binocular, but anything that would bear an HD name. Then we made it look really cool with putting the Cryptek patterns on it, and this is a very exciting product.
Wow, I am impressed by this. Something else about a good pair of binoculars, this is a Pro Guide here. I'm guessing that the light gathering ability of these binoculars, especially around dusk and around dawn when you want to be looking for animals, is probably superior to a lot of other optics out there.
It certainly is, yeah. The HD as well as the prism coatings allows for greater light transmission getting to your eye so that in those early morning or late evening hours you can see more and see farther.
So we've got the Leupold BX3 Mojave Pro Guide HD binoculars, brand new. We've got the Leupold RX 1200 TBR digital laser rangefinder. And don't forget that we have that Windplex Reticle and the custom dial system Zero Lock that's going to make you the best shooter out there in the field when it comes to using that scope. Where can people find these items in terms of stores, in terms of some of the more popular chains here in the Northwest?
Locally, you can find them at any of the big name stores as well, your local stores. You know, you got them at your Cabela's, you got them at your Bass Pros, your Bi-Marts, your Fisherman's Marines, your Sportsman's Warehouses, any of your real outdoor shooting hunting gear stores. But if you want to go to leupold.com and go to our Find a Dealer locator, that'll tell you who within your area carries our product.
All right, fair enough. Again, folks, that website is leupold.com. Check out the great new stuff that Leupold Optics is coming out with. We are proud to have them as a sponsor because they're truly one of the best, if not the best, optics companies out there. Shane, always a pleasure to talk to you. Look forward to doing it again soon.
Thank you, John. You too.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. The kind of optics that allow you to see what you need before making that stock or pulling that trigger. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun rise above us.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's time again for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. Anglers there are using blade baits to catch walleye, to include some really big ones, up to 16 pounds in 22 to 64 feet of water. Slowly retrieved swim baits are also working for walleye, and pre-spawn perch, measuring up to 12 inches long, are getting caught as well. Moving off Potholes Reservoir into the nearby Seep Lakes of the Columbia National Wildlife Refuge, trout action is heating up early this year. Angler Mitch Childress took his son fishing to one of the lakes there last week, and guess what? That young lad caught a 4-pound rainbow on his first cast. That's what I call some fast fishing. If you want more details and want to buy the tackle that will work, drop by the store at Mardon Resort. They are well stocked and they're open 7 days a week. Their website, mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. By the way, I'd like to thank the folks at Mardon for donating a one-night stay at one of their new waterfront camper cabins. One lucky person attending the Wenatchee Sportsmen's Association game feed on Valentine's Day is going to win it. I'll be emceeing the event, and I'm really looking forward to a fun night full of some very exotic food. You can get your tickets if you're in the area at Hooked on Toys in Wenatchee or Sportsman's Warehouse in East Wenatchee until February 10th. There's some fly fishing going on in western Montana as of late. The Stonefly Fly Shop in Butte reports nymphing, or slowly stripping a streamer, might get you into some trout on the Big Hole River. This will work on the Upper Clark Fork too, though if it's not, the folks at the shop suggest switching to a size 18 to 22 midge or midge cluster and seeing if that will do the trick. As for Georgetown Lake west of Anaconda, well, let's just say you won't be casting for trout there, but there is a good chance to get into them if you just happen to bring along an ice auger. You can find out more about fishing streams in the greater Anaconda Butte region by visiting the Stonefly Fly Shop or by going to their website at thestonefly.com. For our next field report, we're broadcasting from the Tri-City Sportsman Show. We're talking to Jim Moore. He is the owner of Bottom Gun Guide Service out of Boardman, Oregon, fishing the Columbia River at this time of year for sturgeon and walleye. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you stopping by and visiting with us today.
Now, Jim, I know come March, you're going to be going after keeper sturgeon. Exactly where can you keep sturgeon in the Columbia River in March?
In March, above the Dalles Dam, clear through into Washington, it will be open for keeper sturgeon.
So we're talking about keeper sturgeon, and then we need to talk about the size because it's different than the season for the lower Columbia sturgeon. What is the size for the sturgeon you get to keep?
Up here, we can keep the sturgeon with the measurements of a minimum of 43 inches to a maximum of 54 inches.
And the limit is one, correct?
Yes, one a day, that there's a 2 annual limit.
All right, so if you want to go after sturgeon, whether it's with you or people by themselves, what kind of bait do you recommend people use for this stretch of the Columbia?
Well, the roll mop herring works very well, and squid works very well. When the water's still cold, we can do pretty good on the smelt.
What about shad? I was talking to another guy a couple weeks ago on this show, and he said he doesn't usually use shad early in the season.
No, that's generally reserved for later in the year when you're looking for those big oversized fish for catch and release. That's when the shad comes in more handy as a bait.
And speaking of smelt, until last year, that was really hard for people to get because we just weren't seeing the smelt out there. But I understand the smelt have made a comeback, and it's now a bait that's more accessible to guides.
Yes, it is. The Cowlitz River has really responded well with the smelt runs, and they're even been allowing some sports fisheries on them the last couple years.
Okay, so now we know what to use and how to go about catching some of these keeper sturgeon. Let's go ahead and talk about the other fish people are going after during this March-April time frame, trophy walleye. Tell me about where you're going to be catching those on the Columbia.
Well, this time of year, what folks are looking for is that trophy fish to set that state record, that world record. Those fish are here. There's always that potential in this area. Here in the Tri-Cities area, there's several areas that are good. Down around Burbank is good. Down in the Boardman area, the Irrigan area, there's definitely some areas down there a guy should try, looking for those spawning beds, and that's where those big fish are going to be hanging out, near the spawning beds.
And folks, let me tell you how big we're talking about here. The state records have been caught in this stretch of the river. In Oregon, it's in the high 19s. In Washington, it's over 20 pounds caught near the Tri-Cities. Jim, do you think this record's going to be broken again?
Oh, absolutely. They've got a great food source here, and there's no reason that those fish are not going to get larger and larger as time goes by.
I'm looking at some taxidermy you have behind you here at this booth of a very big walleye, by the way, folks. And it looks like what you have set up is basically what we call a worm harness. You got a smile blade and a couple of beads and a couple of red hooks and a night crawler. Is that what you're using this time of year?
Well, that's one of the baits that I use a lot, especially I'm taking a lot of folks that do not fish very often, and it's a very simple method for them to use. A lot of people like to jig with numerous different jigs around. Blade baits are very popular use, and that's basically your jigging again. And some of these big fish, that's exactly what they're going to be caught on.
I'm guessing with the cold water, a slow presentation is important, whether you're using a bottom bouncer and a worm harness or whether you're jigging.
It's absolutely critical this time of year is that slow presentation. These fish are actually a warm water game fish, and they are fairly lethargic in this cold water. So the slower you can get that presentation right in front of them, the better chance you have of getting that bite.
So one more question I've got to ask. March, April time frame, do you have openings?
Certainly.
That's good to know. So we better give people a website and a phone number so they can find out more and book a trip, whether it be for keeper sturgeon on the Mid-Columbia or for trophy walleye.
Website is bottomgunguideservice.com. Good phone number would be 541-980-2708.
That's 541-980-2708, 541-980-2708, or just go to the website, bottomgunguideservice.com. That's bottomgunguideservice.com, getting you into the sturgeon and the walleye near Boardman, Oregon. Jim, thanks for telling us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John, for stopping by and visiting here at the Tri-City Sportsman Show.
The Columbia River is not the only place to catch sturgeon. The Snake River offers some great sturgeon fishing, too. Let's check in with Nate Luther with Nate Luther's Guide Service about catching some of these this spring and summer. I want to talk a little bit about some fishing you're going to be offering starting in May through the summer for sturgeon on the Snake River. It's all a catch and release show, but I understand the sturgeon are just huge down there.
You'll get on an average day 5 to 7 sturgeon a day. One of them's going to be 8-9 feet, if not more than one of the fish will be.
In having fished the snake before and caught one of those, you don't want that to be your first fish because it'll probably be your last fish. You are going to be tired after battling one of those huge oversized sturgeon. What's the average size down there?
Average size is 6 to 7 foot. A lot of people ask me how you get ready for sturgeon trip, and I tell them have your wife drive a Volkswagen Bug to the end of the block, and you reel it back 6 times, and you'll be ready.
That's a perfect definition. These are hard fighting fish, and you're going to be real proud of yourself when you reel one in. And plus, Hell's Canyon and the Snake River, especially in May, June, it's absolutely gorgeous down there. So not only are you going to get in some great fishing, you're going to probably also get in some great viewing of both wildlife and just the scenery of the canyon itself. Again, that's Nate Luther. He'll take you sturgeon fishing this spring and summer. It's great catch and release fun. He's got a website. It's NateLutherFishing.com. That's NateLutherFishing.com for Nate Luther's guide service, taking you sturgeon fishing on the Snake River.
Rides above us, got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
Wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera and don your skis for some Nordic skiing adventure at Salt Creek Summit or Wallowa Lake. Or spend the day on the family-friendly slopes of Fergie Ridge. Or slip into a set of skates and enjoy some time on the ice at our outdoor ice rink. Need to warm up? Then grab a cup of coffee or hot chocolate at one of our fine coffee and confectionery shops. And when evening comes, enjoy some of Wallowa County's fine dining and gaze at the stars before you dream of tomorrow's adventures. Your winter adventure begins at www.wallawacountychamber.com.
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX McKenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your McKenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Bi-Mart stores. BX McKenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
It's time for the big ones. That's right. The two biggest shows in the Pacific Northwest are coming up soon. The Washington Sportsman Show is first, taking place at the Puyallup Fairgrounds, January 21st through the 25th. And then it's time for the second largest sportsman show in the entire nation. The Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show takes place February 4th through the 8th at the Portland Expo Center. Looking for a big show? Well, they're coming up soon in Puyallup, January 21st through the 25th, and Portland, February 4th through the 8th. Go to otshows.com. That's otshows.com to find out more, and don't you dare miss out on the big ones.
If you've ever been fishing in Mexico, you know how good it can be, and now you can fish there with the real news. Take your choice of a trip to Baja's East Cape for roosterfish, marlin, and dorado. These trips are value priced, so you can stretch your dollars in fun. To find out more about fishing Mexico with the real news, log on to therealnews.com or call 425-334-8966. Again, that's therealnews.com or 425-334-8966. For an incredible adventure.
I'm Ward Burton. Think that's fast? That's nothing compared to how fast America is losing its wildlife habitat. Join the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and help us protect millions of acres. Visit elkfoundation.org or call 1-800-CALL-ELK.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Sportsman Show season continues, and as we said at the top of the hour, the Northwestern Outdoors Radio crew is at the big Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show at the Expo Center in Portland through Sunday. Come on down, take in a seminar, score a great deal on outdoors gear from the retailers there, book a trip from one of the hundreds of guides, and drop by and say hello to us. We'd love to chat with you. Another place you can see me is in Wenatchee on Valentine's Day. I'll be the master of ceremonies for the 50th annual Wenatchee Sportsmen's Association Game Feed, taking place that night at the Wenatchee Sportsplex. There's going to be all sorts of interesting and tasty food there, as well as raffles, auctions, and more. One prize you can win is a night at a waterfront camper cabin at Mardon Resort, something I guarantee you're going to love. In fact, after a night in one of these cabins, you'll know what I mean when I talk about roughing it in style. There are also guns, a bow, some beautiful artwork, and trips with guides and outfitters to be won too. Pick up your tickets, available until February 10th at Hooked on Toys in Wenatchee or at Sportsman's Warehouse in East Wenatchee. And if you miss me in Wenatchee, I'll be in Yakima the week after that for the Central Washington Sportsman Show. It's been a while since I've been to this one at the Sun Dome, and I can't wait to get back. We'll have a booth there promoting our show and our local affiliate, KIT 1280. And again, I hope to chew the fat, and maybe some of you can educate me on where to go on the Natchez or Yakima rivers to tie into some rainbow trout. This show runs from the 20th through the 22nd. You can find seminar schedules, an exhibitor listing, and more at SchulerProductions.com. That's Schuler spelled SHUYLER Productions.com. Speaking of catching trout, if you like to catch them on the fly, a fly fishing show will be at the Convention Center in Linwood, Washington on Saturday the 14th and Sunday the 15th. There will be fly tying, casting demos, seminars, and more waiting for you there. Find out more at flyfishingshow.com. The weekend of the 20th through the 22nd not only features a show in Yakima, but also a Sportsman Show in Medford, Oregon. Joe Pate and Company will be coming back to the Expo Center at the Jackson County Fairgrounds to bring you a popular show featuring a whole bunch of exhibitors as well as attractions that include the Art of Falconry. I'd love to see that. And something called Venom, where the stars of the show all tend to be poisonous. Get more details about this one at exposureshows.com. And finally, the Great Rockies Sports Show will be hitting Helena at the end of the month. This show will take place at the Lewis and Clark County Fairgrounds from Friday the 27th through Sunday the 1st. You can find out more about what's going to be there at GreatRockyShow.com. We're just about out of time, but if you get a chance, check out our Facebook page, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Really easy to find. And we've got a website too. It's northwesternoutdoors.com. You'll find links to find out more about the guests that we have on our show. And in case you missed last week's show, you can hear it there online. Right on our front page, just press the radio button. Another website to be aware of is RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's the home of WRVO Radio, and they offer outdoors radio 7 days a week with over 30 outdoors programs. We are proud to be part of the lineup, and we hope you'll give it a listen. You'll love it. That's all for this week. Until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to get outdoors, or at the very least, to a Sportsman Show.